Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, before I get started, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Bahashim, Racha Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth and rule well. Peace and blessings unto the hopeful elect, pushing his word throughout the four corners of the earth in truth, righteousness, and sincerity. To you, I say Shalom. This is the brother Yeshaya coming at you again through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. And in this video, I'm gonna be going into this article right here. Not sure what I'm gonna name this video, but just something along the lines of, Esau being proud of his past. All right, but in this article right here from NPR, it says a Confederate statue toppled in Washington D.C. in 2020 has been reinstalled. Okay, and as you see right here in the picture, that's a picture of the statue in question, or that this article is about. But pretty much, this is a picture of or this is a statue of Albert Pike, which was a Confederate general. But as we're gonna go into, this man was an enemy unto our people. But this man, he has done a couple of atrocities as well, even to his own people. But the fact that they're reinstalling this statue back up just shows the climate that we're in, the mindset that the rulers that be, or at least their type of mindset, what type of I guess you could say vibration that they're trying to bring back, which is that colonial conquistador type of spirit. These Edomites from the Jim Crow era, slavery era, that type of mindset, they're trying to bring that back. You know what I'm saying? Because for a long time, because this statue, it says 2020, right? It was taken down. That was during the whole critical race theory, Black Lives Matter shit, right? And during that whole critical race theory thing, a lot of past was brought up concerning, Esau's past, right? Which is pursuant to Habakkuk 2. As a matter of fact, let me get that. Bear with me. But a lot of his past is being brought up and is being put to question. The morality of it. Whether these people should be honored for their actions. Because some of them committed heinous crimes that that they should remove their or pretty much they should remove those statues so that way it won't seem like they're being honored, which we understand that America's a racist country. It was founded upon racism, it was founded upon slavery, it was founded upon all these how should I even put it? Pretty much, America was founded upon all this shit. You know what I'm saying? But let me get this. Habakkuk 2 and verse 16. It says, "Thou art filled with shame for glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered." Right? So a lot of shit is being uncovered. A lot of shit is being dug up. Right? And it's being found out even more and more that Esau is a devil from the beginning. His track record, all his goddamn laundry list is long, man. But it says, "Thou art filled with shame for glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered." Right. So all that glory that he once, or all that past that he once glorified in, in the taking down of Jake, the enslavement of Jake, everything that he did, up to that point, he glorified it. He glorified it. But now shame, the time period where shame, as which we're in right now, is covering him. But now he's doubling down. He's tired of having that white guilt. He's tired of so-called blacks and Hispanic people talking shit about him. He's tired of it. So now he's going to revert back, because his pride is so puffed up. This man is so prideful that now he's like, fuck all that shit. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't care what you think no more. So he's just gonna, go and revert back to, you know, that old devil that he once was. You know, shit. The whole thing with the ice and what's going on with that shows you that this man is reverting back. This man is showing his horns. You know, they're going back to that type of spirit. But anyway, continuing on, it says, "The cup of the Lord's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be on thy glory." Right. So that happened, right? And then what happened was they took this statue down. I remember seeing the video. They tagged it, they burned it, they pretty much vandalized it. But now they're talking about putting it back up. I'm gonna read this. It says, "A statue of the Confederate General Albert Pike was pulled down and set ablaze in Washington, D.C. in June 2020 during the Black Lives Matter movement. Has been has been renovated and reinstalled in Judiciary Square. The reinstallation on Saturday was a follow-through of an earlier National Park Service announcement that the federal government intended to restore the statue, which it says has been damaged in riots. The monument to Pike was first erected in 1901, but has long been a contentious issue within the nation's capital. The Pike statue is the only outdoor monument within Washington, D.C. to honor a Confederate general, but it does not mention his military history. It says Pike, who was a Freemason. See, so he was, he was up there. He was, rubbing elbows with, some of the elite. But it says Pike, who was a Freemason and was pardoned by President Andrew Johnson, has also been identified by historians as possibly having been involved with the development of the Ku Klux Klan in the period after the Civil War, right? Which I believe so. It makes sense. But it says the plaque at the base of the statue, which was originally mounted by the Freemasons, calls Pike an author, poet, scholar, soldier, jurist, orator, philanthropist, and philosopher. Members of the D.C. Council, the district's legislature, have been calling for the statue's removal since 1992. In an unsigned statement sent to NPR on Monday, the National Park Service wrote, "The National Park Service announced on August 4th, 2025, that it will restore and reinstall the bronze statue of Albert Pike, which was damaged and vandalized during the Black Lives Matter riots in June 2020. The restoration aligns with federal responsibilities under historic preservation law and recent executive orders and to beautify the nation's capital and restore pre-existing statues." Right. So a lot of these statues that were taken down during those times, during the riots or the cancel culture thing, a lot of these statues are going to be brought back up. I know they're talking about here mainly in Washington, D.C., but seeing that they're doing these things in the capital, best believe it's going to start expanding to all these other states that took down certain Confederate statues or certain monuments of pretty much distasteful people, or about distasteful events that took place, right? Because you also have this right here, this picture of Teddy Roosevelt, right? Which, when you look at it, you have Judah on the right and you have Gad on the left, which represent the nation of Israel, right? Northern and Southern Kingdom. But what does it look like? It looks like he has them, subject. Like, it looks like they're subject unto him, right? Like he conquered them, right? Which he did. Esau conquered us, right? But all that history, being brought up, and all the negativity and that goes along with that, because what this man did, he took everything, the way at least the way he took over America was all done through unjust means, wickedness. But as you see right here in this picture, he was taken down. They they cut off his body and they left the horse, but they took the whole statue away, right? But that was all part of that same you know, I want to say council culture, but it's what's it called? Critical race theory, you know, thing that was going on in 2000, 2001, right? I mean, 2020, 2021. But let me see. Let me read a little bit more. This is in a statement released Monday. Eleanor Holmes Norton objected to the statue's reinstallment, calling it an affront to the most. This is an affront to the mostly black and brown residents of the District of Columbia and offensive to members of the military who serve honorably. Pike himself served dishonorably. Right. Well, first of all, this man was a racist, and then second of all, there was, I did some digging on this man, and he did a couple of atrocities, even to his own people, right? That were at the time, considered his enemy because of the Civil War. But anyway, it says Pike himself served dishonorably. He took up arms against the United States, misappropriated funds, and was ultimately captured and imprisoned by his own troops. Norton continued, he resigned in disgrace after committing a war crime and dishonoring even his own Confederate military service. Confederate statues should be placed in museums as historical artifacts, not remain in parks or other locations to imply honor. Right, but that's the type of climate that we're in. This is the time where Esau is gonna is gonna tap back into that type of spirit of not giving a fuck, and honoring all this wickedness that he has done. This man is tired of sidestepping. This man is tired of feeling guilty, or not being able to say the N word, not being able to call Jake a spick, a nigga, whatever, man. There's videos on Instagram, videos on TikTok, videos on all these social media platforms of Esau over here. Hey, these motherfuckers are starting to buck up against Jake, man. These motherfuckers are tired, man. I mean, you gotta understand these motherfuckers are losing. Esau is losing. His country, is in shambles. His family structure is gone. Can't pay bills. The economy is shot. I mean, it's a lot of things, man. And what do the apostles say? When people are people got nothing to lose, they lose it, right? And people and these Edomites are losing bad, right? And there's a quote by LBJ. I have it right here. Let's see, right here it says, "I tell you what," at the bottom of it, "if you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. Hell, give him somebody to look down on, and he'll empty his pockets for you." So that's ultimately what Esau, just needs. He just needs somebody to look down on to make himself feel better, right? And I have another quote from LBJ, another racist cracker, that this one right here, right? Because that whole thing of them taking down those statues during that time period, when all that I guess that shameful spewing was being brought out, of all these past uh, uh, people, that or so-called Edomite, or these so-called white people, right? These Edomites that did all these atrocious acts, that had statues and memorials built up for them. A lot of their past was being brought up, but their statues being removed was really just Esau, giving you a little something, because as I'm gonna read right here. This is one of LBJ's quotes. It says, "These Negroes, they're getting pretty uppity these days, and that's a problem for us since they've got something now they've never had before, the political pull to back up their uppityness. Now we've got to do something about this. We've got to give them a little something, just enough to quiet them down, not enough to make a difference." See, and that's exactly what they did. Y'all were out here in an uproar, crying for justice and peace, speaking out against these past actors that did all these atrocities, or did or represented something that isn't what what Jake, deems to be acceptable. But Esau just let y'all, they were pretty much like, well, you know what, take that down, give him a little something, you know what I'm saying? But like it says right here, not enough to make a difference. Here it is, they allow you to get, one step forward, but then they push you 5 steps back. Them taking down all these statues, was just something just to quell Jake down, just to quell you down, to keep you quiet. You see? But now we're coming into the type of time. Now we're coming into the time where all hell is getting ready to break loose. You know what I'm saying? Civil war, race war, is being cultivated, man. It's being, what's the word? I guess you could say it's being, orchestrated, right? But let me see. I want to touch a little bit on this guy, Albert Pike, right? I just typed this in, Albert Pike, racist, in the AI overview. It says Albert Pike was an avowed racist, a Confederate general. So it says avowed racist. That means he was openly racist, right? So he was an open racist, a Confederate general, and an outspoken opponent of civil rights for African Americans following the Civil War. His racist beliefs and associations have made him a highly controversial figure. So it says support for slavery. These are part of his racist views. Opposition to Reconstruction, right? And I'm not going to read into all this, you know, um, just for time's sake, what I'm saying. Just going to kind of briefly just touch this. But it says Ku Klux Klan allegations, right? We read that he was possibly, involved in the building or the construction of the Ku Klux Klan. It says Washington D.C. statue. It says due to his racist history, Pike's statue in Washington D.C. has been a source of controversy for decades. Protesters toppled and burned the statue in 2020 amid nationwide protests against systemic racism. Right, and that's exactly what this place is. It is a systemic racist country. You know, everything around you was designed to oppress and cripple the Israelite man. Right? Let me see. What else does it say? Freemason connection. It says Pike was a prominent leader in the Freemasons who originally funded the controversial statue. He was depicted as a Freemason, not a Confederate general, on the plaque of the base of the monument. However, in 2020, the Freemasons supported the statue's removal. Right, so why would you support the statue's removal in 2020? It's just to give you, Jakes, something to quell you down. Right? LBJ's quote. Right? It says, now we got to do something about this. We got to give them a little something. Just enough to quiet them down, not enough to make a difference. You see, because all that, taking down statues, that made no difference. America is still a systematic racist country, even now more so than ever, right? And it's going to continue to get worse. All right. So now, let me go ahead and get some precepts. Right, we got Habakkuk 2. Let's get this. Proverbs, because like we mentioned, this man's pride is is getting higher and higher. But this all shows that this man's at his end, right? As it says right here, pride goeth before destruction. Proverbs 16:18. Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. You see? So let this man get prideful, man. The scriptures talk about raised up Pharaoh. Bear with me. Hold on. I don't know if I spelled Pharaoh right. No, it's in Romans. Let me see. Yeah, Romans 9:17, it says, "For the scripture saith unto Pharaoh, even for this same purpose have I raised thee up, that I might show my power in thee, and that my name might be declared throughout all the earth." You see, so the Most High, raised up Pharaoh. Who's the modern day Pharaoh? Esau. He raised him up, got him into this point where he feels so prideful, right? All to take his ass down, right? So that Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shah's name might be declared. That's the same thing with now. Same thing with Esau. The Most High is building this man up, buttering him up, getting him nice and fat, for it just to slay him, to be right for the chopping block. You see, like I said, his sign is, his pride is just a sign of his inevitable end. Let's get this. Job 20 and verse 5. It says, "The triumphing of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment." You see? So, hey, let him have it. Let him have his little joy. Let him have his little, 5 minutes of feeling happy. Because at the end, this man's about to be taken down. Right? This is his kingdom at the end of the day. But we're coming to the end of that. Right? Let's get Jeremiah 50. Slovakia. Jeremiah 50 in verse 31. It says, "Behold, I am against thee, O thou most proud, saith the Lord power of hosts. For the day is come, the time that I will visit thee." Right? So Esau is that most proud, who rules over the earth, who would take no correction. But instead, what does he do? He doubles down on his wickedness. Right? So for that, the Most High has proclaimed judgment upon him. For that, the Most High is going to come down, and rain all hell. You see? With all the shit that's being brought out, with all the, exposure, this man is not, he shows no sign of repenting, no sign of, trying to make things right. No, he's doubling down. He's like, no, fuck that shit. I'm gonna continue doing it. I'm gonna do it more. Verse 32, "And the most proud shall stumble and fall, and none shall raise him up. And I will kindle a fire in his cities, and it shall devour all round about him." Right, and that's what's gonna happen. Nuclear destruction. Also, them laser beams from the chariots. Verse 33, "Thus saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together. All that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go." Right, so, through the way that he's currently operating, and by trying to change and hide history, he is showing that he has no intention of correcting, like I said, the wrongs that he has done, or to let us go, to truly let us be free. Because obviously there's an agenda against the Hebrew Israelites. There's an agenda against calling yourself subscribing by the name of Israel, calling upon the name of Yahweh and Yahweh Shai. There's obviously a problem with that, with these Edomites. You see? Now let me get this, because as I quoted earlier, talking about never to trust thy enemy. This is Jeremiah 13 and 23. Or maybe I didn't quote it. Maybe that was a different video I'm thinking about. But this is Jeremiah 13 and 3. It says, "Can the Ethiopian change his skin, or the leopard his spots? Then may ye also do good that are accustomed to do evil." You see, so this man is not going to change. Esau will give you a hint. Oh, we're going to give you this. We're going to give you that. We're going to give you, EBT. But now we see he's taking all that shit back. We're going to take away all these statues, but now he's putting all that shit back. Right? Just showing you this man is never going to change, man. This man is the wicked. You see? Let's get this. Let's go into the Apocrypha. Let's get is it Psalm? No, Salakia. Ecclesiasticus, Sirach 14, or Ecclesiasticus, um, verse 7. It says, "And if he doeth good, he doeth it unwillingly, and at the end he will declare his wickedness." Right? If he doeth anything good, he doeth it unwillingly. By him giving you all this, EBT and giving you all this aid, he made you dependent upon him. By taking away all these statues, he made you believe that the America was heading in a different direction, what you would call in the right direction. But as we see, this man just pulled the rug under you, right? Now let me get but it just shows that everything that Esau does, it all comes with an ulterior motive. He has something else lying underneath what he's showing, up front. Never trust your enemy, Jake. This is why we say this all the time. Never trust an enemy. Let's get this. Let's get Psalms 10 in verse 5. It says, "His ways are grievous, thy judgments are far." Hold on, that ain't it. Oh, yeah, this is it. Psalms 10 and 5, it says, "His ways are grievous, thy judgments are far above, out of his sight. As for all his enemies, he puffeth at them." Right? So these monuments that he's setting up, really it's just him puffing at us. Right? He puffs at his enemies, man. He's sticking his chest out. He's saying, man, like, who the fuck are y'all to tell us what's right and what's wrong? That's pretty much what he's saying. Now let's get Psalms 10 and 6. Like, it's right here. "For he saith in his heart, I shall not be moved, for I shall never be in adversity." So that's in his mind. That's the type of pride that he's in, man. That he's never that he's not gonna be moved, man. You ain't gonna sway what I'm gonna do. You ain't gonna change what I'm gonna do. Right? I'm never gonna be in adversity. There's nothing y'all can do to stop me from doing what I gotta do. That's pretty much what he's saying. Because what he's trying to bring in is his new world order agenda, where he's up top. Right? Or white supremacy will be able to, will fill the earth forever. Right? See, but that's, like I said, that's his pride. His pride has him feeling superior. He believes that his actions will never face any form of repercussions. Which is why when he hears the prophets, when he hears people speaking out against his past actions, he gets mad. And he doubles down. And now we're coming to the point where this man is really ready to show his horns, and really go full all out, Terminator mode on anybody who's not down with his agenda, and those who ain't down with what he's got going on. If you have any criticism, if you have any, negative comments to say, he's ready just to, put you up, take your ass out to Guantanamo Bay or some other foreign country. Take away your citizenship. This is the times we're coming into, right? What's that George Orwell book? I forgot the name of that book. 19 something, right? Shows a dystopian society where you can't say nothing, you can't really do much. This is the times that we're coming into, man. But anyway, I don't want to rant too long. I just wanted to bring that out real quick. I pray this lesson was edifying. I'm going to go ahead and close it out by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Bahashim, Rachak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth and rule well. Peace and blessings unto the hopeful elect, pushing his word throughout the four corners of the earth in truth, righteousness, and sincerity. Until the next time, I'm going to say Shalom, Kwam Yasha Allah.